Add excitement to your holidays with Ohio Lottery Holiday Scratch-Offs, including $1 holiday cash and $5 holiday lucky times 10, or holiday bonus millions with a 200 times multiplier and a $2 million top prize. Plus, enjoy second chance drawings where you can win 10 times, 100 times, or 1,000 times the price of your ticket. Scratch-offs make the perfect gift, and best of all, there's no wrapping required. Lottery players are subject to Ohio laws and commission regulations. Play responsibly.
Hello, it is Ryan, and I was on a flight the other day playing one of my favorite social spin slot games on ChumbaCasino.com. I looked over at the person sitting next to me, and you know what they were doing? They were also playing Chumba Casino. Everybody's loving having fun with it. Chumba Casino is home to hundreds of casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com to claim your free welcome bonus. That's ChumbaCasino.com and live the Chumba life.
Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Experience holiday cheer at Tanger Outlets with savings up to 70% off your favorite brands. From fragrances to accessories and the latest styles, discover the best gifts for everyone on your list. Save big at Nike Factory Store, Michael Kors, Under Armour, Coach, Polo Ralph Lauren, Kate Spade New York, and so many more. Unwrap the best at Tanger Outlets. Hundreds of brands, endless gifting options. Plan your trip at Tanger.com.
Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our Quick Publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Molby on the Spot. I'm Trev Downey and I am joined by Mr. Jan Molby, the Liverpool and Denmark legend. You've all tuned in to hear. So let's welcome him back once more. Good evening, Jan.
Good evening, Trevor. I hope you're well.
Considering, yes, I am. A lot of us aren't well underneath the red flag today, Jan. There's a lot of disgruntlement. I will admit to being kind of sort of immediately furious after that match just because of the nature of coughing up a late lead. And the Newcastle game felt to me like it was full of errors. And I've said on so many shows to every single person that I'm either speaking to or interviewing that what strikes me about this season so far is that the biggest enemy of Liverpool has been Liverpool's sloppiness. And it absolutely was the case again last night. Yes, Newcastle I thought were very, very good, front foot, aggressive, allowed to be far more aggressive than Liverpool were by Andy Madley. But, you know, what's the point in even following that line of discussion when you've got Joe Linton going around like a tug for hire, completely immune to yellow cards. Every time I see that guy, he gets away with murder. It's remarkable. But, as I say, that's kind of fruitless as a discussion. They were good, Jan. We have to give them their credit. We have to give them their due. They were up for it in a way that I think everyone should have expected. I know you were fully expecting that this was going to be a hostile, in a good way, atmosphere, that we were going to have it up against us in terms of the effort level of the Newcastle players. And when you can see Isaac starting, you know, we knew we were going to have a tough night. That kid was excellent in all he did, but so many of theirs were, to be fair.
Yeah, no, they played ever so well. And I know when we did the show last week, and you know, I thought it was going to be a really tough game of it at St James's Park, but then they had that really, really poor performance in a midweek Chelsea, where you didn't think, oh, well, maybe we are just going to run all over them, isn't it? But yeah, they've got a bit of, because they got the quality and they can generate the energy in the stadium and whatever on a good night, and this was obviously a good night for them, they can cause most teams problems. And I thought generally for 80 minutes, a draw is a fair result. But then, of course, you look at the last 10 minutes where we get our noses in front, and then, of course, you're disappointed, aren't you? I think generally we could have scored more, and they could have probably had a few. So, fair result. The first thing I thought after, and the first thing I heard was, like, obviously fans of other clubs saying, well, this is the real Liverpool and this is downfall. And the first thing I thought was we played without a recognised right back and there was no Konate, which, without criticising the boys who come in, surely affected the way that we played defensively.
It did. Now, like I say, leaning into the post-match spirit of rawness that is our show, I think, I was sort of quite open about the fact that I was annoyed about certain things, and it brought to a head certain things that have been there that people have stuck their heads in the ground and ignored. One of those things was that at some stage we were going to get monstered in midfield because we do not have a player who can stand there and be that sort of defensive rock and dig in when it requires it. We don't have it. And when you don't have that, and you have, as you say, your first choice centre half and your first choice right back not available to play from the start, you are running a risk that in some game you're going to get overrun. And we got overrun in that midfield. They were out-battled. We saw sloppiness, I think, in the first 25 minutes or so. Gravenberch lost the ball Gravenberch lost the ball in very dangerous areas 3 separate times. Like, the kid had a stinker last night. He's been so good in so many other games, but like, we have to be honest about what happened last night. He was pretty appalling. Darwin was pretty appalling. So if you've got that going on at both ends of the park, you're struggling. And McAllister struggled to get into it from a physical perspective, as did Curtis Jones in that first half. We were monstered in there, and that's a worry. And so you come back to the idea of, well, we could have fixed that. We should have addressed that. We didn't. It doesn't look like we're going to address it. Hearing the briefings and the boys in the know that you hear, it doesn't seem like we're going to do it in January either. So that's annoying. The second thing that was annoying was it was mistakes again. It was self-inflicted. If a tackle goes in here, if a shout goes in there, if Queeving doesn't leave the ball on the last one, if Trev tracks his freaking man. Again, these are all avoidable situations, Jan. So I will admit that, like, it may make me some sort of a reactionary fan, but I was pissed off, man. It did feel like 2 points dropped in a way that I don't think we had a right to feel, because you're right. It was pretty much a draw on balance.
Yeah. I'm amazed you felt so strongly about it, Trevor. Having seen so many Liverpool teams over the year win the title and kind of know what it's like. And if you'd ever in any doubt what it takes to win a championship, look at the table at the end of the year, and they will say 24 wins, 8 draws, and 6 defeats. And we're not immune to that, are we? It's going to be part of our season as well. So there will be. So what does it read now? 2 draws and defeat, I believe what it reads in terms of the slight negative, isn't. So it's a part of it, isn't it? But the games come so quick. We go to Everton, we have a Champions League, then we play Fulham at home, and before we know, you win them 3, a draw at Newcastle is forgotten about, isn't it? So, but it is the world that we live in today. Everything, like you mentioned, Trev tracking the runner in the last minute, nothing escaped us anymore. In the days when I played, there was an overview, and this is how the game was, 2-1, 3-2. Nobody digs into the 2 goals that we conceded or personal performances. They will talk about the positive personal performances, but I don't believe anyone in my day ever played badly if we won 3-3. But although, if you'd have analysed it proper, we probably did. But that was never the feeling, was it? So the scrutiny that the players come under today is horrendous. Like you say, when you concede a goal, you find somewhere where we could have stopped that. You go, we could have stopped that, we could have done that, you could have stopped there, blah, blah, whatever it is. And so, and I fully understand that. It makes the world what it is today, and it gives us all the platforms to get rid of all our frustrations and analyse things and whatever it is. But I, honest to God, Trevor, I half expected it. I half expected to go the way that he did, with pace on both flanks, with Linton back in the midfield, being this sort of bouncer that he is, isn't he? You know what I mean? And yeah, that it's what I expected, and they got it right. Isak was fit after having limped off at the weekend. I don't care what anyone says, Trevor. He's a fine player. He's a really, really good player, isn't he? He's got great vision, intelligent, the goal he scored. So when you come up against that quality of player, you will have some issues in the game, and we did.
Yeah, that goal is an absolute rocket launcher, and it's hard to fault anyone. But like you say, you track it back, you can see, well, something should have happened there in midfield and blah, blah, blah. But it's not so much pulling it apart for the sake of analysis that was at the heart of my annoyance, Jan. It's something that you referred to there. Say, 85-86 was a hugely important season for me as a Liverpool fan, because I'm old enough to really care, and the media has gotten to a stage where I can see most of the games. I can certainly see Match of the Day. There's multiple papers getting bought, so I can read different match reports. I'm kind of all over that season. It's Kenny's first season as player manager. And unless I'm mistaken, Jan, I think you guys were 12th or 13th coming up towards Christmas, and still the title gets won. And it gets won in a really dramatic way at Stamford Bridge and all the rest of it. But it's the way things are now because of the ridiculous standards that have been pushed by, you could say, doping, financial doping from City. You kind of have to be almost perfect. You know, that's why I think the heightened angst is there in someone who's an old stager like me, because I just really want to win this league. And the idea of, when you have a thing in the bag and you let it go, it's not like it used to be. A draw away at St. James's Park, that's a good freaking result, Surely that's a good result. It's kind of heightened, isn't it, by the fact that you're aware it will require something approaching perfection to win this bloody league.
Yeah, because we convinced ourselves, generally in the last 5 or 6 years, it's going to take 95 points plus. So obviously, that's what we're looking at, isn't it? I have a feeling that it might be less this year. Let's hope it is less, because it makes it easier to win. And I still think, regardless of what City did on Wednesday in their 3-0 against Nottingham Forest, and people keep telling me you can't rule them out, I still can't see it. I came home Sunday, actually, after the Manchester City game, Trevor. I was watching Sky Sports, the end of their coverage. And by the end of the coverage, the pundits they had had convinced me that all three teams would win the league. Liverpool would win the league, but Arsenal would also win the league, and Manchester City would also win the league. And I'm like, have an opinion. That's what it's about to be. A pundit is about having an opinion, isn't it? Give me an opinion. What do you think? Yeah. You can't buy off Arsenal. You'll be like, well, you certainly can't buy off Manchester City, but Liverpool, Christ almighty, So I still think that. I mean, Chelsea keep going. The one thing I will say about Chelsea, while we're talking about, is that in the last month or so, they played Liverpool and they played Arsenal. And I thought they were significantly second in both those games. Mm. I thought Arsenal and Liverpool, although Liverpool being 2-1, Arsenal 2-1, I thought Liverpool and Arsenal were better than Chelsea. They're having a little bit of a kind run at the moment. They got to go to Spurs on Sunday, interesting. So I still think that Arsenal will probably be Liverpool's biggest challenge in the end. Although their performance against Manchester United was very, very lackluster. It's 7 points now, and it's Trevor. But believe me, if I was playing football and I was 7 points clear,
I don't need a VPN. I've got nothing to hide. This is what I used to tell myself before I hooked up with LibertyShield.com. Not only is my home internet now fully encrypted, but I can now access all the websites I want, whenever I want, and do so from absolutely anywhere. As a Liverpool fan, I love to know I can now watch every match, regardless of whether it's on UK TV or not. My Liberty Shield VPN makes sure nothing is blocked and guarantees me super fast streaming speed throughout that match. You can get connected right now with their software package, which includes a 48-hour no-obligation free trial and instant access to their apps for Apple, Android, Fire TV, PC, Mac and Android TV. Or go a step further like I have and get one of their pre-configured VPN routers. These small but powerful devices allow you to easily connect every device in your home to VPN, making it the perfect solution for smart TVs, Mac boxes and games consoles. Visit LibertyShield.com today and use coupon code AIVPN25 to get 25% off at checkout.
You couldn't ask for any more, could you? You'd be relaxed because you're the good team and you go, stop worrying about it, you know what I mean? Keep keep the noise outside the doors and let's just do our job,
That's the thing. And before we go back and look at something wonderful, which was the win over City in such a spectacular way with the level of performance, we have to admit that there could well be a hangover after a game like that. Maybe that's what we suffered, last night. You could also say that maybe over the course of the season, there are going to be, like you said, there are going to be games that go against you where you're not at your best. But just to finish out with the Newcastle thing.
This episode is brought to you by Disney Plus. Game on, because ESPN Plus content is available on Disney Plus. You can watch your favorites from Disney Plus, Hulu, and ESPN Plus together like never before. With ESPN Plus, unwrap a full day of NBA action on Christmas Day. Tip off the festivities with the Spurs and Knicks, followed by the Mavs and Timberwolves. Then a clash between the Lakers and Warriors, followed by the 76ers and Celtics. And finally, the Nuggets face off against the Suns, all streaming December 25th. Then with Hulu, watch the terrifying sci-fi thriller Alien Romulus, where a group of young space colonizers come face to face with the ultimate horror. And on Disney Plus, follow the adventures of 4 kids across the galaxy as they meet unlikely allies and enemies in Star Wars Skeleton Crew, starring Jude Law. All of these and more now streaming and available with a bundle subscription. Visit disneyplus.com for details. Terms apply.
Experience holiday cheer at Tanger Outlets with savings up to 70% off your favorite brands. From fragrances to accessories and the latest styles, discover the best gifts for everyone on your list. Save big at Nike Factory Store, Michael Kors, Under Armour, Coach, Polo Ralph Lauren, Kate Spade New York, and so many more. Unwrap the best at Tanger Outlets. Hundreds of brands, endless gifting options. Plan your trip at Tanger.com. Experience holiday cheer at Tanger Outlets with savings up to 70% off your favorite brands. From fragrances to accessories and the latest styles, discover the best gifts for everyone on your list. Save big at Nike Factory Store, Michael Kors, Under Armour, Coach, Polo Ralph Lauren, Kate Spade New York, and so many more. Unwrap the best at Tanger Outlets. Hundreds of brands, endless gifting options. Plan your trip at Tanger.com.
Did you feel, and I kind of know the answer to this because I think I asked you already before the mics went live here, but I want, for the sake of the listeners as well, did you see anything that would worry you, Jan? Because like I say, you could zone in on the fact that Núñez has, 2 goals this season. You could zone in on the fact that, when it really is needed, we don't have that midfield sort of enforcer. You could zone in on the fact that even from the left-hand side, our production level and goals, I mean, it's fine. But if it wasn't for our elite man on the right-hand side, blah, blah, blah. So there are things you could sort of pull apart and you could start getting a little bit worried. I don't find myself personally inclined to do that because I think the squad is strong and there's more to come from it, even though it won't be probably enhanced in January. Did you see anything to worry you, man? Do you see any reasons for, is it what you're saying, that those players are quite content with the 7 points? Or do you think there's something that, is there anywhere where the wheels might come off? Because that's what people are worried about.
So if you're asking me to analyse Newcastle versus Liverpool and then give you a verdict, I would go, I don't know whether this team can win the league. But if you're asking to analyse the season so far, and also knowing what we've got to come. So what is permanent? Some of the things that you were worried about against Newcastle, do you think they're going to be permanent? Do you think that David Núñez will continue to start and play unless he improves? Will he be part of the starting 11 when Shota comes back from injury? And if he doesn't improve and Shota is still injured, would we then maybe play Luis Diaz as a number 9 instead? Ryan Gravenberch had his worst game this season. Do you think that's now going to be his level? Because I don't. So, as a one-off, yeah, absolutely. As a one-off, I would look at that and go, if we carry on playing like that, we will not win the league. But then I look at the way we played on Sunday, and you go, we will win the league. So, no, there's nothing there for 1 minute that I think is permanent. I think a lot of things that we worry about on that Wednesday night, it might be a while before we see that again. All of it. We might see things in isolation. We might see Darwin Núñez going offside again and miss chances again. We might see some of the things in isolation, but as a whole, we won't see as many things we can put a finger on. Maybe 5 or 6 things in a game, which we're not used to. We won't see all of them together again in the same game. I refuse to believe that.
You know what's wonderful about the new setup is the honest assessment that we get from the manager. I think he's just brilliant, man, the way that he communicates with people. He's so honest. He doesn't try to bullshit you. And with the best will in the world, Jurgen would quite often bullshit us, like literally gaslight you to your face and tell you black was white. And, some people have this sort of messianic thing where they just go, oh, all hail Jurgen, whatever he says is true. But you and I can be honest and say it was absolute guff a lot of the time. With Arne Slot, there's a real honest appraisal all the time so far, at least so far. Maybe his head will go at some point, but I think it's really good because it's keeping everything level. I read what he had to say about that game and it made me feel better in the same way that listening to you say, well, look, do you really expect all 4 or 5 of those things that went astray to repeat? It's not likely, is it? It is quite likely that we might be looking at Darwin being what, to be fair to you, you had said from minute one, this might be what he is. This just might be what he is. And it's looking like it is. So that might be a thing. But again, that midfield thing will sort itself out. They will coach some sense into them over the course of the week. You just know that's going to happen. So the idea of panicking and running around your hair on fire is nonsense to me, and especially on the back of that win against City. So you were at that game. I presume you were there in the professional capacity. So you had your analytical hat on. The opening half was being compared to some of the best football that we've seen in recent years, even the height of the Klopp era where we were really good, say from 18 to 20, around about that. And, I can kind of agree with a lot of it. I think what I liked most about it, Jan, was the intensity and the intention of the performance. And that maintained itself. But I felt like we saw different iterations of Liverpool throughout that game, which I found really heartening, right? So we're not just all one thing. We're not just, just all out attack. We're not just sit back and defend the edge of 18-yard box. We're not just scrapping in the middle of the park. There's all sorts of things we can do and sort of control the game in different modes during the game. That was what was so impressive to me about that, Jan. It's not very sexy, perhaps, but god damn, it helps you win matches.
Yeah, I think what you're almost trying to say, Trev, is that when Jurgen Klopp was our manager, this is what we did. We just threw it out there, didn't we? And we went, you deal with it, because this is what we got. And if it's not enough, we got more of the same. And it becomes about that intensity and atmosphere and whatever, which we haven't seen from Liverpool. So I just wonder. Sometimes I hate doing these games when you play against Manchester City, because doing the show with you, doing the driving to the game, I'm absolutely 100% convinced we're going to beat them. Yeah, we're going to beat them. We're going to beat them because they're having some troubles, and I can't. The place where you put it right is not at Anfield, is it? If you're Manchester City, the place you put it right is not at Anfield. Oh, you're having a terrible time. You don't go to Anfield and go, I tell you what, I fancy we might get it right today. Yeah. Yeah. That ain't going to happen, is it? And then still, Trevor, when you do the preview before the game, you get drawn into this thing, but it's Manchester City, isn't it? And I look at the lineup and I can see what he'd done with the lineup. You know what I mean? He'd give himself a possession-based lineup, hadn't he? With playing without the dribbling wingers. He'd playing with people with possession and whatever. And I thought, could it just be a case of them grabbing the ball and hiding it away from us with possession, just keeping possession and whatever, isn't it? But it didn't. And it makes me wonder, what made us start the way that we did? Because we haven't, we've even discussed it on this show, haven't we? The sort of slower starts on Arne Slot. And I wonder whether that might have been to do with City. And we're thinking, don't let them go into the game. Let's get all over them from the first. And maybe it was just something to do with the fact that we had to attack the cop end in the first half. Because which is also very unusual, Trevor, isn't it? And then, of course, there was an atmosphere. I mean, the atmosphere in the last two home games has been terrific, and there was an atmosphere against City where maybe also everybody got carried away a little bit and go, we're going to make sure we get the benefit of this atmosphere, let's the atmosphere inject some energy into the way that we played it. And so, yeah. The only disappointment at half time was that it was 1-0, it was such a 1-0 battering, wasn't it?
Yeah, it really was. It's so impressive in so many ways. And, a lot of the fellas you find yourself digging out after the Newcastle game were just outrageously good. And that's why it's just, you're so right when you point out you can't assess a season on a single game, whether it's looking at the City one and saying, yeah, we're going to win the league, or looking at the Newcastle one and going, no, we haven't a chance. It has to be seen in full and in sum. And I suppose one of the really encouraging things about the City game for me was what it possibly did to them. We were saying, you and I, before, that, possibly Pep's head might go. Or certainly he may get distracted and find himself with a more, less of a focus in the league where, the chances of winning it have reduced considerably. And we very much served that up to them. It was, if not a humiliation, Jan, it was just interesting, wasn't it? As they brought on De Bruyne, and they've got Goalbot 3000 up the front there, who's like a absolute cheat code of a human. And they just can't make anything work. They can't make anything stick. The manager's on the sideline responding to, Liverpool top of the league chance by holding up six fingers to indicate his 6 titles, and you think, "Whoa, Jesus, we've rattled this lad." That's like dodgy era Mourinho-esque behaviour. It felt like all that side of things was tremendous, and the psychological thing may still stand. We may have done a number on them in that game. Yeah, well, what do you think about that? Like, in terms of, obviously they had their 3-0 win while we have our draw, but just a match like that can really inflict damage on the psyche of a team. It felt like they were really struggling. They didn't look like they were going to come back into that match.
Don't for 1 minute think a beating Nottingham Forest 3-0 would have changed the players' opinion on what they went through on Sunday at Anfield. I liken it to a game in the early 90s where I think we got beat 4-0 by Arsenal away from home. Now, obviously, Arsenal won the title in 89 and 91, so they were a good team, and it was kind of still us and them with Manchester United sort of hovering about, isn't it? And you kind of think, right, we're going to get to Highbury now. This is a big game, isn't it? But big game is what we do, isn't it? And we lost 4-0, and it was one of them, where you, even on the way home, you sit on your own, you go, and you kind of, the first thing you think is to the way back in. And with Manchester City, it's to the way back in. When Manchester City's back in, it's top of the Premier League and winning the Champions League, isn't it? That's kind of their level, isn't it? So I look and I go, is there a way in? I can't see it. I look at that scene, yeah, of course they'll be Forest 3-0. They might win another in it, but I think they're vulnerable again. If you look at all those difficult away games that have been to Anfield, lost at Anfield, they drew at St James's Park, they lost at Brighton, they lost at Bournemouth. These are difficult away games, Trevor, because they're teams that play with energy, the teams that keep up with you for 90 minutes. City will go to Brentford and there'll be massive problems when they go there. They were lucky that they played Chelsea in the first game of the season away from home. Had they still had Chelsea to come away from home, I think they'd been vulnerable again. Whereas I've been to all those City games over the last 5 or 6 years, Chelsea away, Manchester United away, Arsenal away, and they just sorted it out, haven't they? I just don't think they're at that level anymore. I don't think you can trust them in the majority of home games. But still, there's a run of 7 or 8 away games where I wouldn't put a pound on them to win, including Aston Villa and whatever, So, no, I just don't think they will not be able to get enough points to win the league. Absolutely convinced of that.
Yeah, it's wild to even hear that sentence coming out of your own mouth, I imagine, when you consider who you're talking about. I just wanted to ask you something about the striker situation earlier on, and it kind of went away from me. It was a conversation we had briefly on Raw and it probably warrants just a little bit of a delving into with yourself. So if we're looking at Darwin sort of being what he is now, and the productivity will obviously go through purple patches and then probably have spells like he's in them at the moment. I heard someone say, oh, hey, look, he's only had a few months working with Arne Slot, but from what I can see, Arne Slot has him working his arse off. He's running around the park. He puts in a proper shift, Darwin. He made a fantastic interception yesterday, then tracking a lad back all the way to the edge of our box. That's the kind of work he's doing. But where we really need him, this 60 plus million striker going to 80, is, notching goals. You mentioned, obviously, we have someone who's quite a reliable goal getter in Jota. And again, credit to the people who recruited him, because I don't think many of us saw that he would be quite the goal merchant he has been for us. But the lad is not available half of the time. I think it's half of the time overall since he's been at the club that he hasn't been available. That's not tenable. That's not a tenable position for Liverpool going forward if we want to be winning things, and the other guy is not banging him in. So I have this to put to you. You may think it's reactionary. It's not something I've been thinking about for a while. Are we looking at a situation, Jan, where you could get to the summer and it could be a sea change up there? You could see not one but both of those guys getting sold, because they are both saleable assets. Someone will take a punt on both of them. I mean, with Nunez, it's going to be hard to recoup the size of the fee, but with Jota, someone just has to take a chance that he won't get cropped, and they'll see what his record is. Maybe someone in Saudi Arabia will like the cut of Nunez's jib, or maybe someone in Italy will think, yeah, we'll take him back here. He can bang him in. It's a different type of thing. In terms of reliability, Jan, you look at someone like Gyökeres there. He's doing great. Like, I know is he 26 or 27, that kid?
26 next, I think, yeah.
And, you look at someone, maybe João Pedro, someone like that. There are lots of options. And I'm just thinking, could it be actually, Jan, that we sell not one but two of those guys, and we're recruiting a new number 9 scenario entirely this summer?
I kind of can't wait for the new Michael Edwards, Richard Hughes to show their hand. What is the plan? Because obviously Richard Hughes has had nothing to do with putting the squad together. And Michael had missed the last couple of years. So there will be players he's looking and gone, my data doesn't stack up. Why have we got these people at the club? So I kind of can't wait to see the hand. There's also belief that Michael Edwards wants to invest even more money into the academy. So we buy the best younger players, we get best younger players, even at 15, 16, develop them ourselves, produce our own stars for the future. That's a real possibility. In terms of David Nunez, I can kind of tell you why we all think he might be a good player, because he's got all that, hasn't he? He's quick. He's got a great shots on him. He gets into great positions or whatever. And in all those things, he just misses the last little bit. That little bit of composure. He lacks, and that's that little bit that finds you out when you play at the high level. David Nunez generally now only played at the highest level, which is in the Premier League and the Champions League, isn't it? And he just lacks that last little bit. In Shota, there was a story not so long ago, Trevor, based on that availability. Availability is his biggest problem. At the moment, we've got 6 attackers, haven't we? I mean, I believe Chiesa was back playing in some kind of a game where he scored yesterday or the day before. So until something happened with those, well, if Mo doesn't sign, and either shots at Nunez and Chiesa, whether we can rely on them or not, I don't know. That would actually make it quite interesting, wouldn't it? It's not a situation that we ideally want. I've seen that we've been linked with the new Egyptian king at Eintracht Frankfurt, Omar Mamouche. But I do believe that some 6 weeks ago, from within the club, they said that was not the case. But it's easy for the club at the moment to say, we're not looking at anyone, because I don't believe they are particularly looking at anyone. I think at the moment it's just you confirm it, that the contract situation that they need to sort out.
I saw somebody talking about Eintracht Frankfurt and how they produce these wonderful footballers who go on to be signed by bigger clubs theoretically, and then pretty much flop spectacularly. It's a wild pattern, which makes me a little bit nervous about the Marmouche thing. The only one that I think is almost risk free is that Gyökeres kid, because of the productivity level, and he's fully formed at this stage, I guess, as a 26-year-old. But it will be interesting to see, because if you start poking at it, there's recruitment to be had all over the place. We already know that a left-sided defender and a central holding midfielder type were priorities, so they haven't gone away either, I guess. So yeah, there could be a massive overhaul. Like you, I'm excited to see them finally invest some money and make some moves. That's the part that we're all interested in. But like, I get the feeling, and I know you do, and I know it's what you're hearing as well, that for people who are expecting some sort of big splash in January, I don't see that happening. Whereas I can see City going out and trying to get at least one midfielder. I don't think that's going to be the case with Liverpool. I certainly haven't heard anything encouraging at all.
Hey guys, it's Eddie Gibbs from Anfield Index here. I hope you're enjoying this podcast, and I'm sorry to call time on the show before it ends. In the current climate, it's tougher than ever before to offer podcasts for free. At Anfield Index, we produce over 75 free shows every month, which I'm confident is unparalleled in the LFC sphere. Whilst we'd love to offer everything for free, the production costs now make this impossible. That said, we don't want to follow the model of other channels and lock all of our content behind a paywall. So what we've decided to do is to continue offering every show for free, but cut that offering to 30 minutes on our longer shows. So to get all of our shows in full and enjoy the best of everything we have to offer, we really hope you'll consider supporting the channel and signing up at AnfieldIndexPro.com. For about the price of one cup of coffee, you'll get every podcast in full with 0 ads. You'll also get access to our LFC VIP community, where you can enjoy live podcasts, engage with our podcasters, and chat with other Reds in real time. So that website again, AnfieldIndexPro.com. Join today.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.